Okay, now without further ado, I'm going to introduce Kirsten and let you take it from here.
Okay, great. I share my screen. Start from the beginning here. Okay, great. All right, there we go. So thank you for that kind introduction, and thank you, Jose, for your great organizing work as well. Very exciting. I know you're all in crunch time in Orange County. I've been in your shoes. Before I was on staff at Peninsula Clean Energy, I was a CCA advocate both in the East Bay and in San Mateo County. I'm cheering you on. Tonight I'm wearing my Peninsula Clean Energy staff hat. So I'm happy to share any and all information and answer any questions about Peninsula Clean Energy specifically. But I wanted to give you a little bit of background on me. I am the Senior Manager of Community Relations at Peninsula Clean Energy. And I have been on staff since we launched in 2017. And before that, I was on our formation committee as well. So I've been involved in Peninsula Clean Energy since before the county supervisors voted on it. So, so moving on ahead here. So you all are probably familiar with how community choice energy works, but in case anybody has any questions, I'm just going to do a quick overview. You know, the Community Choice Energy Agency is in charge of purchasing the electricity. So I'm calling that electricity choice over here. And then the delivery is the investor-owned utility, which owns the grid, delivers electricity, and bills the customers. And then the customer, of course, gets the benefits of choice, and also, you know, the known delivery partner as well, and the very easy transition. You know, they still get their bills from the investor-owned utility. It's an obviously it's an automatic enrollment process, so it's smooth and easy for the customers. So I should also give a little bit of background. Where is Peninsula Clean Energy? We are on the peninsula just south of San Francisco. So we're in San Mateo County. So if you've ever flown up to San Francisco Airport, that is actually in San Mateo County. It isn't in San Francisco. And then, so we're that county just south of San Francisco on the peninsula. So Peninsula Clean Energy was launched in 2016 by San Mateo County and all 20 of the cities, every jurisdiction in San Mateo County, to both meet climate action goals and create a better future for our kids. And here is a fun fact for you all, especially the stage you're at. Every single city council member in every city in San Mateo County, plus all the county supervisors, voted unanimously to join the GJPA. There was not a single dissenting vote of any city council member on any city council. And, you know, that happened because of, you know, good work by people like you who got out there and talked to their city council members. And I've got a quote here. And actually the lady in the picture there and is smiling there with her son and her father-in-law, that's Lori Liu. She's the former mayor of Brisbane. And she was one of the elected officials who voted to join Peninsula Clean Energy. And she's got a quote there that kind of sums it up. It's good for our pocketbooks and for the planet. Okay, here I've got a map. So here's San Francisco. Whoops, no, let's go back. Okay, here's San Francisco up here. And here are all of the jurisdictions, all the cities that are members of Peninsula Clean Energy. And then all this yellow space, that's unincorporated county. It's mostly mountains and coastline in there. Yes, so we are, of course, a joint powers authority. The members, as I mentioned, are the county of San Mateo and all 20 of the incorporated cities in the county. And so one of the, of course, the advantages of being a joint powers authority is that there's a financial and legal firewall between the JPA and its member organizations. So it doesn't put any city finances at risk. We are our own agency. And so while the cities are our member agencies on our board, you know, there's a firewall between their budget and our budget and all of our finances. So there's no cross mixing there. It's very separate. And so our board of directors is made up of one elected official from all 20 of our member cities, plus 2 county supervisors. So we've got a 22-member board, very strong, a lot of business experience, a lot of finance experience, some folks who work in the energy sector. And of course, board meetings are open and they're actually pretty interesting. And if any of you want to come hop online and see how our board works, we meet every third Thursday of the month. And so, why did we start a CCA? It's really for the benefits, right? So we offer our cleaner electricity at lower rates. We're able to offer our electricity generation at 5% lower than the energy generation rates of PG&E. So Pacific Gas Electric is our incumbent utility in Northern California. So our rates are 5% lower than PG&E's. So that actually adds up to a savings of more than $18 million a year for accounts across San Mateo County. We hope that that's money that stays in our community instead of going to shareholders. And then we also calculate that we saved approximately, or avoided approximately 105,000 metric tons of carbon emissions based on 2017 data, which is most up-to-date data that we have to compare with PG&E. So that is faster, getting to clean energy faster than would have happened without us, and saving money as well. So how much is 105,000 metric tons? That is equivalent to the emissions avoided by removing 22,290 cars from the road for 1 year. Give you a little bit of context there. And of course, in Orange County, that could be even bigger because you have a lot more population than we do. So we just revisited our strategic plan and came up with our organizational priorities. Our priority number 1 is to design a power portfolio that's basically to buy our energy that is 100% carbon free by 2025, and that aligns supply and consumer demand on a 24/7 basis. It sounds like a little bit of gobbledygook, but let me break that down because it's actually a big, hairy, audacious goal. So right now in California, we have a lot of solar panels, generate a lot of electricity during the day when the sun shines. And then it gets a little bit trickier when the sun goes down. And that is often when more of the gas-fired power plants or the dirtier electricity comes online. So, while we do at this point source 95% greenhouse gas-free electricity for our members, and next year it's going to be 100% greenhouse gas-free, that's averaged across a year. We can't say that every hour of the day is actually greenhouse gas free, but that's what we want to get to. We want to be able to say in every hour of the day, as the sun is going down, as the sun is coming up, in the middle of the night, that is always clean energy that is coming to our members. And as best we can tell, nobody has done that on this scale before. But that's the direction all utilities need to go, so that we are committed to figuring that out, that challenge. And then we also are contributing to San Mateo County's goals for reaching, San Mateo County's efforts to reach the state goal to be 100% greenhouse gas free by 2045. Actually, we hope to do it a lot faster than that. But that also means that we are electrifying everything, electrifying transportation, electrifying building energy use, with the goal of serving that up with clean energy at every hour of the day, and getting ourselves off fossil fuels in our county to the extent possible. So currently we've offered 2 electricity choices. Eco Plus is our default choice, in which all customers are automatically enrolled, except for the town of Portola Valley, which is a fairly wealthy little enclave. And that town actually voted to have all of their residents automatically enrolled in the Eco 100, the 100% renewable. But everyone except for Portola Valley is automatically enrolled in Eco Plus, which is 50% renewable energy, currently 95% greenhouse gas free, and the next year it'll be 100%, and then 5% lower generation rates than the local utility. So that's where you get that $18 million annual savings across all our accounts. Then we also have the 100% renewable option, that you have to actively choose that, and that is a slight premium of about $2 a month more than the local utility for the average household. So it's really not that much of a jump, and a number of our large accounts have chosen that. Facebook has its headquarters in Menlo Park in our territory. They run on our 100% renewable energy. Visa is based in our territory, so they run on 100% renewable energy. A Gilead, actually, which is out, a biotech company which is helping to create coronavirus vaccines and medicines, is doing that on our 100% renewable energy as well as most of our cities and county accounts. So where are we getting this clean energy, and how are we able to offer such savings? We were pretty active early on with trying to cut out the middleman and building our own clean energy projects. So pretty much as soon as Peninsula Clean Energy launched, we started negotiating a big solar project. So we have just signed we signed a couple years ago a 25-year power purchase agreement with an organization called Clenera. And so they built us this 200 megawatts solar project. It's located within 100 miles of San Mateo County. We're proud to say that this was built with a 5-trade project labor agreement. There were 5 unions involved in building this, and it provided jobs for 400 union workers. And it launched and started operation in January 2020. So we are now getting electricity from our very own giant solar array, as well as other sources as well. This it supplies about 1/3 of our demand. But we've cut out the middleman for about 1/3 of our demand, and that just increases the savings that we can give to our customers. So even as a relatively new agency, launched in 2016, really actually started serving most of our customers in 2017. We've been very financially successful. We're projected to have $186 million net position at the end of the next fiscal year. That's even with projected financial impacts from coronavirus. We're projected to have we currently have more than 200 days operating cash on hand. We're able to budget between $7 and $11 million a year for community energy programs for the next 5 years. So that's money that we are pumping back into our community in order to fight climate change. And we've earned investment grade credit ratings from both Moodys and from Fitch. And so the Moodys credit opinion was very interesting. This was issued last year because it really wasn't just about Peninsula Clean Energy. It was about California CCAs or CCEs in general. So this is a direct quote from that credit opinion, saying, a key strength of the California CCA model is the statutory provisions which enable PCE or any other CCA to immediately become the default provider of generation services upon inception, and which provides us with a captive and arguably sticky customer base. And so that was considered a real credit positive by Moodys. And Moodys also really liked that we set our own rates, that we can have timely full cost recovery, that we have an active board, that we can secure cost competitive renewable resources. We've demonstrated the ability to generate a good cash flow on a sustained basis. The thing is, any CCA can do this. This isn't specific to us. Great. And so we are, of course, reinvesting that money, and reinvesting it in all parts of our community. And we've especially been reinvesting in benefits for low-income community members who are financially struggling, especially in these times. As soon as the shelter-in-place started, we started looking at what we can do for our low-income discount customers. So we just automatically put a $100 bill credit on their bills in April. So anybody who was signed up for a utility discount, got that bill credit. It covers about 3 months of energy generation for the average customer. And then anybody who's signing up for those utility discounts automatically gets that bill credit as well. So that was about $3.6 million worth of consumer benefits just in the last couple of months. We are also ramping up a low-income home repair program. We will be spending up to $8,000 per home to help with repairs that will qualify these homes for federal energy efficiency programs. But to qualify for these programs, your home has to have at least, be able to seal to keep heat or air in. If there are holes in your windows or your roof, you don't qualify. And so we will get up there, we will pay to have your roof patched, to get the basic health and safety repairs done, so then you can qualify for the other funds as well. We've done this for the last year as a pilot project, and we're going to be ramping up this on a much greater level. We also have loans and discounts for used electric cars, and we work through one of our local social service organizations through that. Great for first-time car buyers or people who need to repair their credit. And we're looking at doing some major grants for workforce development as well, understanding that all of our ambitious goals are going to require, frankly, more electricians, more appliance installers who are familiar with electric appliances. We want to make sure that these folks are in the workforce and that our folks who want to join that workforce have appropriate training. So I mentioned earlier that in order to help the county reach its carbon-free goals, we are electrifying transportation and buildings. So in terms of transportation, there's really a chicken and egg issue with electrifying transportation. Are there chargers there? So one of the things about having some money to invest in our community is that we were able to put up basically put up a matching grant to the California Energy Commission and say, we're willing to put $12 million on the table for electric vehicle charging, and the California Energy Commission matched that. So we're going to be able to invest $24 million in new electric vehicle charging infrastructure in San Mateo County over the next 3 years, focusing on workplace charging and multifamily buildings. If you live in a single family home with a garage, you're kind of set, right? But this is really about reaching renters and folks who live in multifamily buildings for whom that's more difficult to charge an electric car at home, making sure they can charge when they're going to work, assuming we're all going back to work someday. I think we will. And also in public spaces and various other convenient locations. We also run an annual dealership discount. We work with local dealerships to give a guaranteed discount on electric cars, and then we do some marketing for them. And we've gotten, just about 200 electric cars on the road in the last couple of years through that program, as well as just doing a lot of electric vehicle education, a lot of test drive events, we've run TV ads, a lot of workshops to get people up to speed on what it means to go electric. And it's not just about cars, obviously. Really, we'd love to get people out of cars as well. And so we're also rolling out incentives for e-bikes. And at least initially, we'll be focusing those incentives on residents of low-income housing. And of course, we have our used car incentives year-round as well. In terms of building electrification programs, this is a slide from a recent board meeting. It gives some example of the budget numbers we're able to put towards some of these programs. We're going to be giving incentives for electric appliances and service panel upgrades. For example, a big target here is hot water heaters. They use a lot of natural gas. So we're trying to get as many people to use, switch over to electric heat pump hot water heaters when their old gas hot water heater needs to be replaced. Sometimes that requires, though, that you upgrade your whole electric panel. And that's an expensive endeavor. So we'll be throwing down some incentives for that as well, especially for lower income folks. I mentioned our low income building upgrade program. That's a part of this package. And then we also will have some innovation pilots, helping local businesses who have an interesting new technology that they want to pilot and get some information about, helping them do that, as well as workforce, helping with workforce training as well, especially for those to help appliance installers get more comfortable with installing heat pump hot water heaters. All this is part of a grand vision of electrifying our buildings, both existing buildings as well as new buildings. And actually for new buildings, we've been working with our cities and our county to pass a really progressive building codes, which will encourage new buildings to be built all electric, so they don't even need a gas hookup, and it's actually less expensive to build without a gas hookup than just to build all electric. So can be a real win-win. And our final program area focuses on community resilience. So we are concerned, of course, as everyone in California is, about fire season, upcoming fire season, and in future years. So we are working with a number of our cities to identify critical municipal facilities that could benefit from solar and backup battery storage installations. So when the grid goes down, they can keep powering the community center or the emergency operations center or whatever critical facility that they identified. One of them identified a senior center. Keep all those going. We also are rolling out programs for our medically vulnerable residents and all commercial and residential buildings as well. So to focus in a little more on the medically vulnerable customers, this is close to my heart because this is a project that I work on closely. I have here in the slide, I'm actually going to take a sip of water for a moment, a map of the high fire threat zones in San Mateo County, all those red and yellow areas. A lot of our hills and our coastal areas. We had, up to 92 hours of power outage last fall for some of these folks, especially in Half Moon Bay in this area where there's a lot of senior housing and low-income senior housing. And we're especially concerned about people who have a medical device that's powered by electricity that they really rely on for life support. And so we are working on a program where if they own their own home, we will hook them up with a solar installer that can install a solar system and a backup battery on their home. So when the grid goes down, their solar keeps pumping energy into their battery, and they keep their house going. And there are great incentives right now through a statewide program called SGIP, the Self-Generation Incentive Program, where these customers can actually get a backup battery system at low to no cost to them. So our preferred vendor will front them the rebates and make it easy and smooth. And then we know that that's not a solution that works for renters. So for renters, we're actually looking to do a bulk discount purchase of portable batteries, lithium-ion batteries that can power their medical device, and just donate them to them. And so there's my my summary of what we're up to, and I'm happy to take questions.
Tristan?
Yep, we have. Sorry, I was just getting unmuted. That was fantastic. A lot of people are also asking, if a GJPA is formed, do cities have autonomy on certain decisions, such as how the funds from their ratepayers are used for the energy program? So kind of what is some of the autonomy that a JPA would have?
That's interesting. Yeah. I can't speak, I'm not a lawyer, so I can't speak to the various ways a JPA could be set up. I know that's not the case in Peninsula Clean Energy. We actually have a county that has a really deep culture of collaboration. And so because we have 21 jurisdictions, that are member agencies, no one agency gets to say, well, this is the money that came, for example, from Belmont, and so we're going to spend it this way in Belmont. The money all comes into one pot, and then our board, which has representation from all of these cities, makes the decisions together, and and we really think that's more cost effective than trying to run, one little program from Belmont and one little program over here, one little program over there. You just have more purchasing power, more market power when you're aggregating all, programs and rolling them out at a larger level. So, that's not really the culture of San Mateo County. It's very much it's a collaborative, let's work on it all together culture.
Fantastic. And everybody go ahead and start putting your questions in the chat. We do have a lot of people, asking, oh, do you have to live in San Mateo to take advantage of the electric car program and benefits? And, obviously it sounds like it is for the citizens of that area.
It is. And because we do put, we do put some money into those programs, and they're funded by our ratepayers. It is for residents of San Mateo County.
But it's a great model to say that we want to have this in Orange County. I drive an electric car. We have 2 electric cars. So that incentive's really been helpful to help us purchase an electric car. And I would say it's cheaper to operate than any other car.
Mm-hmm.
My kids have not been to a gas station since they were maybe 1 or 2.
Wonderful. That's wonderful. Yeah. Should I start going through the questions here in the chat?
Yeah, we've got
Great.
and then Jim Martin is saying, are the savings you show mostly because of the government subsidy?
Government subsidy. What government subsidy are you referring to?
Yeah. And maybe that's clarifying, is that they're, how that works is it's not a government subsidy. This is, your own county that has put together.
Yeah,
I was just asking, based on the idea that you're showing an electricity rate cheaper than the PGE rate,
mm-hmm.
and wondering if it's because the clean energy had some kind of subsidy in its development.
A number of, speaking broadly, a number of energy sources are subsidized in one way or another, right? Nuclear is extremely subsidized. Fossil fuel industries are subsidized. Clean energy nationally also has had tax credits. So all utilities take advantage of that. PG&E takes advantage of that. We take advantage of that. So I don't know that really would give us any kind of, advantage as an entity, because all energy companies are taking advantage of all the subsidies for all the types of energy.
Jim, are you asking about the 5% savings in rates? Is that what you're referring to?
I was noticing that you're able to provide some savings.
Right.
And it just seems that probably that's because the initial installation of something like a field of solar cells is reduced price because of some kind of government kickback.
No, it actually really isn't. We did, I would say we had good market timing on that solar installation. The price of solar was coming down, and our staff and our board are savvy negotiators when it comes to negotiating our contracts. So we took advantage of a good time to get into building a solar array, and that had a lot to do with it. Our staff is very experienced and very savvy. Our CEO, Jan Pepper, has been recognized as, she actually won a national award from the EPA as the Green Power Leader of the Year in 2017. She has many decades of experience working in the utility sector, including working from PG&E at one point. So we have and she's known as one of the best in the business in terms of negotiating power contracts. So we have, savvy staff who are good at this. We have low overhead. And we just frankly run a leaner business, and we're able to pass those savings on to our customers.
That's fantastic. There's one question about whether you met a lot of resistance in getting this started, because we've faced a number of different challenges as trying to bring it here. And we'd like to hear how your journey was getting it started. Was the public behind you? Was there a lot of opposition? How did you kind of turn that tide?
Yeah, I mentioned that I had been an advocate before I was on staff. So I have to say San Mateo County had a very smooth journey. And part of that was very savvy laying of the groundwork by some local elected leaders. Early on, when the county started exploring forming a CCA, they formed a formation committee. It got a bunch of stakeholders from all over the county. There was an elected official from every city on the county in this committee. And joining this committee wasn't a commitment. It was just a study commission. It was like a study committee. Let's look into this, right? Let's look at, they commissioned a feasibility study. Let's look into this. Let's get all our questions answered. Work with a consultant who was Sean Marshall on, let's look into this. So there was an elected official from every city. There was also somebody from the building trades. There was a representative from the International Brotherhood of Electrical Workers, the IBW, the electrical union. The Sierra Club was there. Our local transit agency was there. There were various other small local environmental groups, which is how I got it. I was representing a local environmental group from my city. And so a lot of stakeholders were there. Oh, chambers of commerce were there. And really just kind of like hashed it out and looked at like what was each stakeholder interested in. The unions were interested in certain things, and so we worked out a workforce policy early on, which was very pro-union. And the unions had been skeptical about CCAs in some of the other jurisdictions, and they supported it in San Mateo County. So we didn't have any opposition there. Chambers of commerce, because they were at the table, they said, okay, the finances look good here. We like the idea of local savings. Great, let's go for it. So there was, because those stakeholders were at the table evaluating, and really looking at the numbers that were coming back in the feasibility study, really saw, wow, the greenhouse gas emission savings are remarkable here. The finances look good. There's no good reason not to do this. And so, so because of that, there really wasn't much in the way of organized opposition.
That's fantastic. Well, two people are kind of asking the same question. Sanat, do you want to pose the question about 95% greenhouse gas free? Would you like to unmute yourself? She wanted you to elaborate on the 95% greenhouse gas. Go ahead.
Yeah.
Oh, sure.
Yeah.
Okay.
Hi, Kristen. Yeah. It's just you had two offerings, and with the 50% clean energy offering, you said you have 95% carbon-free energy. Could you elaborate that one, please?
Sure. And what I mean by carbon-free energy?
Mm-hmm.
Yes. Yeah.
Oh, yeah. Sure. Great.
What is in the mix? Yeah.
What's in the mix? Because some people want to know where, in the choice where you pick 50%, what's the other energy coming from? So one. Right.
Yes. Okay. I see your question. Right. Okay. So it's about 50% renewable, and then 45% large hydro.
Okay.
Yeah. And our goal is really to ramp up ramp down the large hydro or ramp up the renewable.
Thank you.
And then, go ahead.
Oh, were you done tonight? I just wanted to kind of maybe clarify, going back to the 5% savings, or roughly 5% savings. From what I understand, part of the reason community choice groups have savings is because they're cutting out the middleman, and they're actually able to locate, to operate locally. And those two things, because they know their area and they have the relationships, sometimes can do the purchasing that then allows them to have cleaner energy, or the load, even to load variations, so that they're getting the cheapest price on their electricity. So there are there are reasons why they're getting a reduced cost in general that makes sense just because they sort of know their area, right? Is that true?
You know, it's hard to cut out the middleman initially because, you know, when you launch, most CCAs negotiate a company with a major, you know, international energy provider that can, you know, guarantee that on day one, when you enroll a bunch of customers, that energy is on the grid. So you're usually, you know, not working with, well, you may have some of these who are local because Orange County is large, but you know, mostly these are international energy companies that you're contracting with. And in terms of whether you can negotiate a discount compared to your utility really depends on your local market conditions. So I can't speak to what that looks like in Southern California. I mean, you are trying to get a discount compared to a different utility than when we are. So I'm just less familiar with the business climate there in terms of you know, what that looks like in terms of your rates and potential savings. But I would say that you know, it is. I think that has been useful that we started negotiating to build our own solar early on, and that is, you know, helping our financial position.
Okay.
Fantastic. And two people are kind of asking a similar question, you know, how were you able to build a solar farm so early, you know, in the setup of your CCA? How was it financed? You know, with the analysis that went into that, they'd like a little more insight into how you were creating your own power. Right.
Yeah. I don't know that I can give you a ton of details because I'm not on that team. You know, I do community relations. I don't do the solar contracts. I'll tell you what I can figure out. You know, just having observed the process and the other staff working on it, like we put out a request for proposals for this solar array even before we had rolled out to most of our customers. You know, it was one of the first things we did as an organization. We knew, you know, more or less, we had a pretty good idea more or less what our load was going to be, you know, how much electricity we need to procure. And so one of the first things we did, we put out a request for proposals into the market, you know, for, you know, to see what was out there in terms of what pricing we could get on building a solar array. And like you said, it's you know, the cost of solar has been coming down.
Right.
And so I'm not entirely sure what the current market conditions are, you know, given COVID and supply chain issues and so on. But at least at that point, you know, the cost was very favorable. And even got to the point where it's like solar, I believe, is the cheapest energy resource on the market right now.
Yep. Well, everybody's been saying this is a great presentation, so inspiring. I think we have time for maybe one more question. So put it in the chat. And then the next one is, what's the greatest distance that any of your renewable energy resources has to travel to San Mateo County?
Yeah, we do buy, I believe, some large hydro from the Pacific Northwest. That is, you know, the part of the portfolio that we're trying to transition to more local renewable energy. So it's probably the largest distance. But like I said, for the solar system that we built, we purposely built it as close to San Mateo County as we could within 100 miles.
Okay, great. Any more questions? Anybody from Jose? We welcome questions from everybody.
There were a few questions about your relationship with PG&E. And I just wondered if you could comment on that in general. I know in all community choice, the utility still manages the wires and you purchase the energy. So can you say anything about your relationship with them?
I would say it's complex. On their operations side, we actually have a pretty close operating relationship. So our rates and billing people have a weekly call with their counterparts at PG&E. PG&E actually has staff that are dedicated specifically to CCA relations and working with the CCA teams, especially because PG&E has a lot of CCAs in its territory. So they're very responsive and very, you know, professional in their jobs, and it's their job to work with us. And so if I need something, I can email her and say, hey, can I get this list of customers from XYZ? And she'll provide it. And so operationally, I would say it's a pretty smooth relationship. We worked hard to have that good, smooth relationship because ultimately it's about customer service. We share customers. So our customers are eligible for PG&E programs, like energy efficiency programs, PG&E rebates, and they're eligible for ours. So we're even looking at doing some co-marketing on some programs. I would say on the regulatory and legislative side, it's not always as smooth. You know, we have our disagreements with the California Public Utilities Commission. So it depends which team is speaking, but on the operations side, it's fairly smooth.
Fantastic. Well, great. Well, everybody, let's really.
Jose had a question, actually.
Jose, do you have a question?
Just one more question, and it relates to jobs. So can you talk a little bit about how Peninsula Clean Energy was able to spur economic growth or more job creation in the region?
Yeah, and first I want to say something about San Mateo County. Is we have an extremely low unemployment rate. It's probably not as low at this point, but before COVID, and it's hard to know exactly what it is now because you know the statistics lag. But before COVID, our unemployment rate was less than 2%. It was around 2%. It's like less than structural unemployment. So honestly, we have a housing crisis more than we have a need to create more jobs in San Mateo County. We need to create housing. Like people come from miles and commute hours to work in San Mateo County. So it wasn't so we realized actually, you know, we can do more for the state by creating jobs elsewhere. And so it was actually more important for us when we were building that solar array in Merced County, a couple of counties away, to make sure that those were good, strong union jobs. And when we put out the press release saying, you know, that for our groundbreaking, say, you know, we're building this 200 megawatt solar array in Los Banos, and 5 unions are going to work on it. You know, my email was on the press release. I was doing media relations at the time. I started getting phone calls and emails from people saying, I need a job. And so I started referring them to the local union halls, and we started putting that information on our website saying, great, you want a job? Good. Go talk to the laborers, go talk to the electricians, go talk to the you know, whichever union you are best fit for. So really it was Merced County that needed those jobs more than we did. So I'm glad to say that we created some jobs in an area that has a much higher unemployment rate than ours does.
Did you want to do the last question, Linda? And Jose
Yeah.
from Sanat had one more question.
Go ahead, Sanat.
All right. My question, thank you, Linda. My question is regarding rooftop solar. People or groups that are opposed to community choice energy here in our area tell elected officials that rooftop solar can kill community choice energy. If people end up getting a lot of solar, then they don't need to buy energy from you. That means a failure to the program. Do you incentivize rooftop solar, or otherwise, what's your opinion about this assessment?
Yeah, so the thing is, like, I have rooftop solar, and my rooftop solar works as long as the sun is out. But as soon as the sun sets, I am buying electricity from the grid. So I still need the grid. I still need to buy energy from Peninsula Clean Energy. Unless, you know, until I buy a whole bunch of backup batteries, and it would be very expensive for me to buy that many backup batteries and go completely off the grid. You know, rooftop solar customers still need the grid. They still need, you know, their local utility or the local CCA. So I wouldn't say that the rooftop solar kills CCAs because these customers still need to buy electricity when the sun goes down. And we do subsidize our local rooftop solar customers. We pay higher rates for that electricity when they're selling it back. So, for example, on my solar, when the sun comes up, and if we're not using that much electricity, I'm selling some electricity back to Peninsula Clean Energy. Peninsula Clean Energy is buying that electricity at a higher rate than PG&E would have bought it. So there's a subsidy. And so we make it a better deal to have rooftop solar. It makes the payback rate on your solar better. And so and then if you, and those credits are credited on a rolling basis. You can use those credits on like the winter months when it's foggy or rainy or so on, and your solar system isn't, you know, creating as much electricity. And if we owe you $100 or more in the spring, we will send you a check for whatever we owe you. So we've written some pretty big checks to some local folks who have big solar arrays as well. So there is a subsidy, and I think CCAs and local solar are totally compatible.
Thank you.
So I just wanted to say two things, and Kirsten, you can let me know if you agree or you don't. But one of the experiences of going to some of the Cal CCA meetings or state-sponsored events by different groups is that there is such a cooperative relationship between all the CCAs. And I've seen it time and time again where they are willing to support new CCAs, share their best practices, share their lessons learned. And I think that's part of the strength of CCAs, is that there is this cooperative nature. Would you agree with that?
Absolutely. When we were launching, we were the 5th CCA in California. And Marin Clean Energy was the first. They were launched in 2010, I believe. So they had everything pretty much worked out. So I was, I was in charge of writing some of our residential brochures, our outreach materials, and we pretty much copied everything Marin did. And their staff was very generous. Anything we needed, they would send our way. They were happy with it to have us copy things. We all happily copy each other. Everybody supports each other. Cal CCA has working groups. All the people who buy energy talk to each other. All the CEOs talk to each other. All the marketing people talk to each other. All the regulatory people talk to each other. And especially the regulatory people work very closely together because there's political strength in numbers. But yeah, there's a lot of support, and especially for the new CCAs, anything you need, we're happy to hop on the phone, send you templates, let you know what we did in the past. So yeah, we all benefited from the early CCAs when we play it forward.
That's wonderful. And then the last thing I wanted to ask you again, because one thing I think that struck me early on is that your 100% renewable rate, I think you said it's a few dollars more a month. Mm-hmm. And that right there is something pretty spectacular, because for many who want, choose 100% renewable now under our current plans, it's not just a few dollars more, it's quite a bit more. So
mm-hmm.
I think that is something that I heard you say that and I said, wow. Mm-hmm. And
yeah.
Your customers can choose that.
Yes. Yeah, it really is pretty affordable. Yeah, for the average household, it's about $2 more per month for the 100% renewable energy compared to what they would pay PG&E. Compared to the PCE savings, it's about $4 a month. So if the average customer would save $2 a month with Peninsula Clean Energy, or if they want the $100 clean energy, they'd pay additional $4. So it's $4 savings compared to PCE, $2 savings compared to PG&E.
Terrific. Okay, I'm sorry.
No, and you're reducing emissions all the time. Like I saw on your website that it's like up to like over 30,000 cars, like taking off 30,000 cars now.
Right. Plus the added programs for cost savings. So
yeah, it really is one of the greatest things. It is, we are able to, capture a revenue stream and reinvest it in climate action. So, we don't have to, we'll go take advantage of government grants, for example, but we don't really need them because we have our own revenue stream. And that is invaluable, and we can turn around and invest that in, in a pretty large scale in local climate action programs.
Right.
So real quick, before we
go
to chapter announcements, can I take a group picture before we lose more people?
Oh, yeah.
It's okay. You guys are wearing your PJs. We can't tell on screen. So if we could get more people to show their screen, so I could just take a real quick group picture, that would be great. Okay, so there we go. There's all those lovely faces. Great, so I'll just count to 3 and you guys could smile and I'll take a screenshot, okay? So 1, 2, 3. Great, thank you.
Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and just invite people to stay if you like for our climate reality meeting, but if you need to go, I will let you say goodbye now, so that because I know some of you, we promised this would be an hour and you'll need to go. But so if you do and you want to wave and say goodbye to us,
Yeah, should we do a round of applause for Kristen?
Yes.
Thank you.
Oh,
Yeah.
thank you. It's an honor to be with you. Good luck.
Thank you so much.
And we'll be reaching out because there were a couple more questions we didn't get to, so we may email those to you and share them with our membership too.
Happy to help. And if any local elected officials would like to connect with members of our board, I might be able to set that up also.
Great.
We have some elected officials who've been involved in talking to some elected officials in San Diego. I imagine they'd be happy to do that in Orange County as well.
Yeah, we will.